3 officers responding to a call for loud music are on leave after a video captures their encounter with university students at an off-campus apartment. And what goes down, you got to see. Take a look.
Please let go of him.
Why?
You are illegally entering.
Sir, what is the point? You didn't treat him like that. What are you doing?
What are you?
Why are you acting like this?
Get out! Get out!
Why are you acting like this?
Sir, you have no.
Get out! You don't have a representation of a good person on earth. Why are you acting like this?
We are shutting the door. Shutting the door.
Ask if he's being arrested or detained.
Sir?
Ask if he's being arrested. Is he being arrested or detained?
He's under arrest.
For what?
For what?
For what?
Act up.
For what?
Act up.
For what?
What is he under arrest
Do not grab your
for?
arm, sir.
What is he under
Act
arrest
up.
for?
Sir, it's on video.
Get out of
The 3 students also facing charges for obstructing and resisting. Joining me, Sam Shocker, host of Pop Trigger on Hulu.com. Tanya Acker, a judge on CBS Hot Bench. Mike Cathwood, my Loveline and KBC co-host. Cheryl Dorsey, Sergeant LAPD retired, author of the creation of a manifesto, Black and Blue. On Skype, I've got John Cardillo, WJNO radio host, former NYPD officer. Now, although Sam, you were getting chills looking at this tape. Tanya, once again, we watch these tapes over and over again where any kind of resistance results in, as Cheryl would say, bad things happening.
Sure. Well, look, I mean, there are certain baselines that we grow up with, right? You're supposed to respect authority. You're supposed to act respectfully when cops come to you. But by the same token, we also have certain expectations. We have expectations of privacy. I have a reasonable expectation that unless I am doing something that is putting others in jeopardy or myself in jeopardy, that my private space is sacred. My private space is sacrosanct. So we're constantly having to balance this need with the need to sort of defer to and respect authority with having authority. Public figures respect our private space. In the United States of America, there's a very high standard before public officials can invade your space. And I think that we've really got to balance those tensions.
And Cheryl, I've learned from you that we seem to, in many of these videos we watch where bad things happen. And as I've learned from you, bad things happen when cops put hands on, right? And you resist.
Absolutely.
But again, it doesn't seem like there's skillful de-escalation, nor is there, as Tanya's saying, respect of the private space.
Well, you know, for me, here's the thing. It seems to me that these officers really didn't have a plan when they went there. They kind of just went in willy-nilly, and they just figured, we're just going to do this, and then we'll make up a reason to rationalize what we're going to do down the road. And they understand that when they arrest these young people for resisting arrest and interfering, that if it's a DA reject, it's okay. But guess what? You just spent the weekend in jail, right? I just inconvenienced you, and it'll be a DA reject, and everything will be fine. Resisting arrest is what happens when officers use excessive force and they have nothing else to do but CYA, cover their butts for that force that should have never been used.
Sam, you see what she's saying?
Yeah, and also what I like that you usually state on previous episodes, Cheryl, is you say that you've noticed that some officers will punish. Right? They'll punish the citizens if they feel like that they're resisting arrest. And I felt like that happened in this case, too. While I do agree that you should comply, in this case, I don't think the police officers had any right to go ahead and invade this space. They shouldn't have been able to go into this private residence, especially because this was a noise complaint. And what I did not like is that when the student was finally on the ground with his hands behind his head, they continued to tase and beat him with a baton. That is not okay.
John, what do you say? As usual, I expect something different from you.
You know, I'm 80% in disagreement. I'm in agreement with Sam at the end where they should have been hands off. But look, I seriously wonder what types of jobs Cheryl had on patrol, because any patrol cop knows a barricade situation is very dangerous. And when this kid went to close the door, those cops didn't know if he was hiding contraband, if he had a hostage inside, if he had weapons. A barricade situation is deadly. And it was at that point that they were absolutely justified in entering, removing the occupants for everybody's safety, and finding out what was going on.
All right, well, let me hear from the officer on patrol, who I guess you had no experience in LAPD,
well, you
right?
see, I understand why John questions my credibility, because this is coming from a guy who didn't make it to the finish line. This is a former officer. I'm a retired, honorably sergeant with 20 years on the Los Angeles Police Department. So I understand why he has questions.
Go ahead.
And listen, John, all 20 years in patrol in South Central Los Angeles. All 20.
Hang on, John. I'm going to ask you, John, when you talk over what somebody's saying, I can't hear you at all. So now, go ahead.
Cheryl, I was never the subject of IAB complaints, and by many accounts forced off the job. I retired honorably.
Brother,
listen,
I'm honorably retired.
Cheryl,
Do your homework. If you want to know about me, read my book. I'm not hiding from nothing. I have nothing to explain I have nothing to explain to you. 20 years, South Central Los Angeles, LAPD.
All right, you guys, hang on.
You don't have one peer who comes to your defense, not one.
You don't know anybody that I know, and I got nothing to prove to you, John. Let's talk about the facts. Let's talk about the fact that these officers use excessive force.